education system always wins because I feel like fear is the biggest part. It's always like, if I do what I love, it's such a big risk, but if that doesn't work out, I'm screwed. As I grew up and got more deeper into the industry and a more higher level, everything changed. I got out of bed, called Virgin, and I said, what's the earliest flight back to Australia? And they said, in 4 hours. I'm like, I'll take it. I just got on the plane and left. If this all goes to shit and it didn't work out, it is what it is. I'll rebuild. Am I willing to be someone I'm not to go further down the ranks in this scene? And it changed from being this like the inner child of this young kid performing into like the dark side of the industry. You know, we live in this system where it's like, you know, you got to study, you got to go to school, you got to do this, you got to do that. I'm like, bro, fuck the system, you know? Like, I've come to this self-confidence knowing I can create anything I want.
Just quickly before we get started, guys, if you've been enjoying the podcast, can I please ask that you consider leaving a 5-star review and subscribing on whatever platform you've been listening? It really helps the podcast grow. All right, we got a Sunday sesh in the house. DJ Horizon, thanks for coming in, bro.
Yes, sir,
let me do a little bit of an intro for those who don't know. And we were doing a little pre-podcast chat. I didn't realize how involved you are in business and e-com, so we're definitely going to explore all of that because obviously that's stuff I love talking about. But again, massive international touring artist, with over a decade of experience. And this man sitting across from me has had the opportunity to tour with some of the biggest names in the music world. Let me rattle off some of these names just to give some context. So, I mean, this is according to Google and some articles, but some pretty big fucking impressive names. Now, Janet Jackson, Black Eyed Peas, 50 Cent, Jason Derulo, Craig David, Neyo, Sean Paul, Kelly Rowland, Usher, Lil Jon, T-Pain, Trey Songz and Nelly, just to name a few.
Man, all in one mouth breath, bro. That was very impressive. You got very good lung capacity.
I'll do my best, man. I've got an advantage. I talk quite quick, so I can pump stuff out pretty quickly. So I want to start and get to know your story. As we kind of spoke about before, you're not a lot of details about your story and you know, path and journey to where you are as public. So I'm excited to get to hear a lot of this for the first time now. I know you got into music really, really young and that was a passion, a dream of yours from your early teenage years, but paint the picture for me for an early life. Where'd you grow up? Were you in Sydney? Where were you? What was it like for you growing up? And
yeah, so I grew up, I was actually born in Dubai.
Yep.
So came to Australia in 99, grew up all in Melbourne. And yeah, that's kind of like I started DJing when I was 14. So a very young age before as commercial it is now, it was like you wouldn't really hear about much DJs. But yeah, I started at a very young age.
Dude, when I just turned 30, so I'm born in 93. I don't know if you're around the same age as me. But
95.
95, yeah, similar. I remember when I was in high school, I reckon I was probably like year 11 and 12. And that was at the time where every single person wanted to become a DJ. It was the coolest thing, it was the hottest thing. Like, what was it for you that motivated you to become a DJ at so young? Funny. Like 14, most people a little bit later on, closer to clubbing, going to parties.
Okay, well, it was actually a funny story. So I was always like, I wouldn't say I was like the quiet kid. I was liked by everyone type of thing. But I was the school's music plug. Every week I would go home with about 25 to 30 hard drives to upload music for people, right? So I was always known as the music guy. And then at parties, like I was always the kid like, shit, I can't dance. So what I do, I'll sit in the corner. I'm like, just like, okay, like I need to do something, right? And then I thought to it, I'm like, man, I got to monetize this. I'm giving music away for free. I got to monetize this, man.
Business brain at 14 years old.
100%. Business brain, ADHD, everything all caught in one. So I'm like, yeah, I got to monetize this, right? So I ended up, I got a little small loan from my dad. It was the most ghetto setup at start. And then, started doing all these parties and then one thing led to another, and then Horizon was born.
Now, back in the day, what was it? Were you like, I feel like maybe you were a little bit, were you like LimeWire days? Was it SoundCloud? Like, where were you pulling all this stuff from back in the day? It's very different to how easy and accessible everything is.
It was LimeWire mixed with computer aids, mixed with all this it was a lot of LimeWire and torrenting. FBI entered the chat.
Nah, man, all Apple Music subscriptions paid for everything. It's all good.
Yes, we do it legit now. Yes. Remember that.
Now, so 14 years old, you get into it as like a passion, as a hobby.
Definitely.
At what point does the switch flick in your head and then you're like, holy shit, this is actually a potential career path?
Definitely. So obviously with DJing, it is very easy to DJ, but then the thing is, I was very good at a young age at piecing things together. So it was like obviously my love for music, but the thing that really got me to really love DJing was crowd reactions. So I think that's where I got all my dopamine from, was doing cheeky, cool reactions and cheeky, cool transitions with mixing and seeing people like, oh shit, did he really do that? And then that quiet kid sitting in the corner turned into like the main center of attention. So I kind of like ran with that, right? So yeah, that's where it all kind of came from, is like that love for that crowd reaction.
And what was the reaction of your parents, of your teachers when you're in school, you're already DJing, and then you're like, you know what, guys, I'm going to make this my life?
Okay, so it's actually funny because 2 days ago we were going through my high school report cards and it was like ridiculous, like really bad. All my school teachers knew I was DJing, so I DJ'd at lunchtimes. At school. So they were very supportive, my school. My parents really supportive as well. You know, I'm Indian Sri Lankan. So if anyone, if we have any viewers that are Indian and Sri Lankan, they know how strict
Definitely
it is to like, you got to study, you got to do this, you got to take the usual path, go to uni, get a degree and go from that.
Doctor, lawyer, engineer.
It was not for me. Mm-hmm. It was not for me. So my parents, supportive, teachers very supportive. I was never really the brightest in school. I'd say I'm bright in different ways, but not the academic.
Well, like you mentioned as well, I found out recently I've got ADHD.
Oh yes, ADHD, brothers, let's go.
I know, and I've had it obviously all my life. You don't fucking wake up one day and you have it. But like I've looked back at my life and I was actually quite good in school, but I was the classic report card, good kid, smart. But when he's not like easily distracted, talkative, if he doesn't like something, like he'll make his feelings clear. Yeah. But I feel like it's crazy that you're able to like push aside all that shit from early on, because so many times people like the system, the education system, people that whether they be super creative or they might have something like ADHD or they're just not interested in following the certain path, like the standard path that's laid out. So many times like the system wins and it dulls that creativity and makes people conform. Like for me, I thought, because like I was an ambitious kid, but I thought, going through school, and this is because I came from where I came from, went to a public school, what's the biggest, craziest job I could do? And I thought that was being a lawyer. Mm-hmm. But very quickly I tried it and like I just probably would have been like you. I'm like, I can't do this, man. Mm-hmm. Like my soul is sad. Like it's shit. How are you able to at such a young age, despite all the pressure of society and the norms, to just believe in yourself from such a young age? I'm going to make this music thing my life.
Definitely. I think the education system always wins, because I feel like fear is the biggest part, hey? It's always like, okay, if I do what I love, it's such a big risk, right? But if that doesn't work out, I'm screwed. The way how I kind of did it, I had a lot of people say I couldn't do it. So that was the main driving factor. But I knew I was so good at what I did, right? And I'm like, I think I went into the mentality of like, if this all goes to shit and it didn't work out, it is what it is. I'll rebuild. I think I have that ambition in me. I've got it tattooed right there to remind myself when I'm driving, whatever. I've got that ambition in me, knowing that if this all falls to shit, I can rebuild. Yeah,
and tell me about this, because people have said when I invested all the money I had, I was working a corporate job for a bit. Yeah. I put all the money I had into starting Happy Skin Co, and obviously look what's happened from me. But when I did it, I didn't have tons of money. Like I remember we put about 10 grand in each. Like we'd saved up, and we were early 20s. And by the time I put that 10 grand in, bought all the stock and everything, I had like $1 grand in my bank account. Everyone's like, dude, isn't that such a risk? I'm like, no, the risk is not taking action and not trying to make your dream come true.
Exactly.
Were there ever any moments, doesn't seem like talking to you, but were there ever any moments early on before you obviously had achieved the level of success that you did, that in your mind, did you ever falter? Did you ever start thinking, oh, maybe I'll go try something a bit more safe and stable, predictable?
Never, bro. I've never had a job in my life. Believe it or not. So as I said, I started DJing when I was 14. I did every single house party, and the name kind of like, went through the community, and then it went all over the place. And then, I became like a name, like, Horizon. Well, it started in Melbourne, became, decent in Australia. He's massive, guys. No, it did very well in Australia, but it was more like I just knew I was really good at what I did. And this is what made me happy. And at a young age, I did make quite a bit of money from the house parties and all that stuff. And it just kind of it led to a snowball effect.
Yeah, I wanted to ask to understand kind of the DJ path, what it's like to make it now. What is that process like? So at the start, you're the music connect for the school. Yeah. That's how it begins. Then you start DJing house parties.
Yeah.
What's the progression though from house parties when you start getting this recognition? Can you DJ in any clubs or events until you're 18? Do you have to wait? Like how does it work?
So it's actually interesting. I don't think it works now. But so obviously it went from house parties, and I actually DJ'd in clubs when I was 16. So I would DJ Thursday, Friday, and I would actually go to school early, and the teachers, they were so cool. They actually opened the common room so I can sleep in it, and then 9 o'clock school starts. But the way it works with the nightclubbing, as I said, I don't know if it works now, but you need a sponsor. So my sponsor was my dad. So my dad would come to the club with me and just be sitting behind the DJ booth. Yeah. I'd be spinning, killing shit. People are getting wild and stuff. And he's just chilling like that, watching his son fuck shit up, Yeah. And that's how it worked from there.
Did you feel like having those cool experiences like through those like adolescent, those teenage years, do you feel like that helped build like your self-belief and your confidence into what it is today?
Okay, so this is a great question. So I go by DJ Horizon, right? So there's DJ Horizon and there's a kit. So it's two different people. So on social media, I'm a completely different person, but off social media, I'm a completely different person. So I feel like DJ Horizon is a character I play. You know what I mean? So it's like this alter ego that I play. I still feel like I still am that, that inner child, like just quiet, just sits in the corner type of thing. But then when it's DJ Horizon, it's this charismatic, loud, yeah, you guys ready? Let's turn up. But if I didn't have all that, it would just like, it's two different.
So were you naturally more of like an introverted kid growing up, or?
Introvert, I'm an extrovert in the right circle, but I'm an introvert in the circle I don't vibe with.
Yes.
Was
creating this character, this not character, but this vehicle, this DJ Horizon, what that become, was that, or like you said, now you can go home, you'll be with your missus, you'll be with your family, you'll be who you are in your normal life. But now when you walk on stage, like you can turn on like nothing, right?
Yeah.
Was it a bit of a process to get to that when you were younger, building it up and getting these skills and refining it?
Yeah, definitely. Like I didn't know where it was going to go, right? So I think I was always naturally an entertainer. And then, my first big show was the Tiger concert in Melbourne, and it was like at the Palace Theatre that now there's apartments there. They've demolished a beautiful, iconic for apartments. It is what it is. But it was kind of like one thing led to another. And it was like, first I did house parties and clubs, and now it's like festivals. And then I did like the Good Life festivals when I was younger. And actually that story is amazing because there was like this DJ competition for the underage people to DJ at Good Life. And I did this DJ mix, insane DJ mix. I still have it on my SoundCloud archived, but it's still on my SoundCloud. And it was insane, like non-biased. It was freaking wild for my age, And it was leading up and I'm like, okay, like I hope I've won this competition. I didn't even place top 3. No. And it was like, when you won that competition, you play on the ride stage. Like it's like a small little stage. They were like, and I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm like, how does this work? I'm doing like R&B, hip, everyone's doing EDM house music. I'm like, man, I'm doing R&B and house. I'm mashing it all together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, this is rigged. And then, I was really upset. I'm like, this is crap, whatever. A day later, I got a phone call from the actual guy who runs it. And this is when I was like 15 years old, who like from 15, the guy who runs it, I'm very, like to this day, we are such close personal friends. He called me up. He's like, hey man, you didn't make the top 3, but I wanted to call you up and said your mix was unbelievable. I want to put you on the main stage.
Oh, yes.
So I'm like, no way that just happened. So that's when it was me, Dizzy Rascal, Rita Ora at like 15 years old. And I still have an interview I've got like, you know, the JJ long singlet with the mohawk vibe, you know? So like, that's where it like started where I'm like, okay, this is going to turn into something.
So that was one of the big first moments for you. What was the first moment? Again, I imagine you would earn pretty good money from doing all the house parties, but what was the first moment where from DJing you earned like a pretty decent sum of money? And once you did that moment, did that change like your perspective? Like, holy shit, like, how far I can take music and what music can actually do for my life?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a catch-22. Like, I think when I was around 2021, that's when the money started getting really good. When I say really good, I was maybe like 4 figures a show for like an hour set. But so this is what we're going to get into, because it's like we're talking about all these amazing things. But as I grew up and got more deeper into the industry and a more higher level, everything changed. Everything changed.
In what ways?
So it was like, am I willing to be someone I'm not to go further down the ranks in this scene? And it changed from being this like, you know, this young kid, like the inner child of this young kid performing into like the dark side of the industry. And it was like, it completely changed everything. So it was my whole dream when I was younger was like, you know, I want to go to America and perform. And, you know, that was a dream, you know, an Aussie kid from the suburbs, going to America and starting his DJ career in America. That all happened. So I got picked up from a massive label who was actually, the guy was looking after Usher at the time during the RNB Fridays tour, went to America, and I was supposed to be there for 3 months. Right, I got there, and you know, the label I was a part of was a big label, and we went to the agent's birthday at the time, and I never have felt social anxiety till I went to this place. I went alone. And everyone was there, like, you know, freaking Tiger, DJ Khaled, P. Diddy's kids, everyone. And I'm like, damn, I'm just a kid from the suburbs of Melbourne. Like, this is like a bit full on. And I started seeing like the bit of the dark, toxic side of the industry. And I don't want to like talk too much, but I also want to give that information because how it just changed everything. And it was kind of like, the people that I was dealing, like my heart's very pure, right? And I'm genuinely a nice person. I genuinely want to have people's best interests. But it's like when I got to America, it was very like, who are you? Who do you know? What can you do for me? I'm like, yo, like, can I get your name first? Like let's have a decent conversation.
Dude, I had exactly the same experience. Couple years into Happy Skin Co, obviously we're doing pretty big numbers in the US, and again, I was always the kid. I want to go live over in the States for a while. When you're you're like this Aussie kid from the suburbs, and you're seeing all these movies and TV shows. You're like, yeah, that's where the big big shit actually happens. Yeah. I went over there and had exactly the same experience. I went over there and I was going out with some business friends, some other econ boys, and then we'd go to like dinners at these fancy restaurants, and then like we go into these clubs and you get brought into like the VIP area, and it's like, I didn't realize having like someone's job is just to connect. Like, what the fuck is that? And like everyone's wheeling and dealing every single interaction. And like the girls come up to you, it's like, oh, they see you're in the VIP area. And it's like, dude, like these are like beautiful women. They'll come up to you and they just throw themselves to you, make themselves so available. It's like, this is such a turn off for me. And then every person that comes up to you, it's exactly what you said. Who are you and what can you do for me?
Exactly.
Whereas in Australia, we're like, let's get to know each other. We'll have a chat. If anything comes from that, sweet. But it's so in your face. What you said everything changed from them. What I want to know is, how did you change from that?
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you what exactly happened that made me change. So, I met some good people. I did a show at Highlight Room, and it for people who don't know Highlight Room, it's a very known rooftop pool club in LA. Did that and met some really cool people, vibing out. And then that night we had an after party at Highlight Room, vibing out with the same people, but everything just changed. It's like, what happened during the day, right? So at nighttime, it was very snobby, like, I'll get away and like, oh, I don't have time for you and stuff like that. And that's when it changed to me. I had this massive social anxiety, and as I said, I was supposed to be in LA for 3 months. I was only there for 3 days at this point. I went back to my hotel room. I stared at the ceiling for, I think it was probably maybe like 6 hours, just staring at the ceiling. Because when I was staring at the ceiling, I just pictured my whole DJ career go through my vision. I was just replaying all these things. And it was like, I don't know, everything was just getting played. And I got out of bed, called Virgin, and I said, what's the earliest flight back to Australia? And they said, in 4 hours. I'm like, I'll take it. I just got on the plane and left.
Wow. You get home, do you start rethinking everything?
I still love DJing. DJing's still in my heart, but there's other ways. I feel like everyone thinks you have to go to America. There's so many other ways.
That's what I wanted to ask. Now, obviously, we've had people on, like we've had DJs on, we've had like actors and artists on as well. Especially with DJing over almost any other industry, it's very easy for that life to take it down one path. And, to live like a life of, I'm not religious, but like a life of sin.
Yes.
And it's all about that now.
Yes.
For you, how have you been able to, like, obviously it's fine to go out and party and whatnot, but how have you been able to protect like your authenticity and who you are as a person? Like you said, like a kind-hearted, warm person, but you went in that sort of industry.
Yeah.
On top of the dog-eat-dog world that it can be like in America. How do you navigate that and not lose yourself?
Yeah, well, obviously, I did grow up with amazing parents, like very supportive parents. And I think it's very important throughout the week to remind yourself why you do it and not to get caught up in the bullshit. It is very, like, obviously it's like you love the DJing, the entertainment aspect, but, to network, it's like you might need to go down this dark route. And it's like, to this day, I've never touched drugs. I've smoked a couple of joints, but all the other stuff, I've never touched it.
Yeah.
I think it's, you have to keep reminding yourself why you're in it, but everyone's different. You know what I mean? Everyone's journey in this scene is different as well, but this is just my personal way. And I think it's, I've got a very supportive girlfriend that really keeps me on my toes. So I think she reminds me the reason why I do it and the reason why I love to do it in the way I do it.
Have you seen people, I'm sure you would have, and obviously it's not about dropping names or anything, but have you seen people where you might have kind of been coming up at a similar time, they went over, had their experience in the US, or maybe they were from the US, and you can clearly see people essentially like selling their soul to make it, not selling this, but, just doing things that maybe are immoral or people are going like, it's very easy for that to happen, right?
I'll put it to you short. I've seen them and then they just disappear. And then they come back again and then they disappear. So it's like what my take of that is like they've gone very hard and then it's taken a toll when they're like, obviously physical, mental, that they have to like restrain and come back to reset.
You mentioned you've been able to take another path. You don't need to it's not all about the US, right?
No.
How have you then gone, obviously you're massive in the UAE, the Middle East and Europe. How have you gone, like you go back, you have that experience, you're like, you know what? I could follow that path, but it doesn't align with who I am and my values. Props to you for making that decision. You come back to Australia, you regroup. How do you then set the next plan and how do you navigate moving forward from there?
Of course, yeah. So I had to see what networks I already had within my circle. And I knew US wasn't just everything, I have a lot of amazing friends in the UAE, in Europe and stuff like that. So, and especially in Australia, Horizon in the R&B hip-hop scene is a very well-renowned name. So it's like we have that still here. So it's like how it actually worked in my favor because I can go to Dubai for 6 months and because I'm not in Australia, it's harder to get me. So the exclusivity goes up. So it's like it works in my favor. I can still have fun in, Dubai and then come back to Australia and still do the shows that I love to do out here. And it's also more money because I'm not here for 6 months of the year. So it actually works out really great. And I felt like Dubai, the people, the energy, Dubai is a place where I feel like everyone wants to see everyone win. The ego, you still have ego everywhere in the world, right? Australia, wherever, you see it everywhere. But I feel like in Dubai, it's like everyone's there for the same reason as well. They want to win, but it's different to LA. In Dubai, it's like, how can I help you achieve this as well?
You mentioned in Dubai, everyone wants to see everyone win. Would you say it's the opposite in Australia? Not that people don't, but like stepping out and being big and being ambitious and,
definitely.
is for whatever reason that I don't understand, it isn't what we do in Australia. We like to, you know, as soon as people step out of the box, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think my homie Julian Petrolis, he put up this post. Someone asked him a question, is it hard to make it out in Australia compared to anywhere in the world? And I think if I send you this, we'll put it in the clip. And he explained it perfectly. Actually, do you want me to actually read it out? Yeah, let me read it out to you right now. I think I screenshot it. I'm like, man, facts on facts on facts. Let me get your thought on this.
Do your thing.
As well. Okay, I got it right here. This is Julian's thing. Do you think it's harder to make it out if you're from Australia? Julian replied, I think if you're young and ambitious, you need to live in a thriving environment for your younger years. You can't be in a country that discourages success, and you can't be in your 20s fully experiencing life when nothing is going on. Everything shuts so early. There's literally nothing to do after 5 p.m. Everything is too slow. You are not fully utilizing your youth in Australia and will watch those years fly by you. Australia has two things, nature and high wages for no skill jobs. That's it. And most people that go on about the beaches live nowhere near a beach because they can't afford to. If you wake up at 5 a.m. and love to surf, then Australia is for you. Otherwise, a lot of people will never reach their full potential being based there. So why live in an environment where you can't thrive? If you are ambitious, you need to be in an environment where others are also ambitious. So I think after 40, Australia starts to become appealing for the slow lives, but not in your younger years. And I was like, whoa.
You put that on your story, right? Last week. I think I saw that and I remember thinking, fuck, he's nailed it.
He's nailed it.
And I've gone back and forth in my head a lot of times about my relationship to Australia and Sydney and where I want to be based. For the longest time, like I've just found, because obviously before business, I was an actor for 5 years.
Oh, fantastic.
So again, it was always how quick can I get out of Australia, because it's just such a limited market. And like in Australia, think about it, like being an actor is a fun job. It attracts heaps of people, but you know, there's not that much that gets made in Australia. The casting directors have their same, you know, loop of talent. I'm sure it's similar with getting booked when you're coming through music. And like 90% of the work in Australia will go to the established 10% of 10% of actors.
Yes.
So it's really hard to crack it. Whereas in America, actors can get, you know, 2 auditions a day. They just don't have that sort of opportunity in Australia. So I've always wanted to go and base myself somewhere else. Like, as I said, went to LA, but then like the nature of how every situation, every interaction, every conversation was like, what can I get out of it? Turned me off. Looked at moving to London. We were just over in Europe, did a podcast tour in London. Wanted to live over there for the longest time, but it's like all people do there is work. And when I say work, like a lot of corporate, and then they go and drink at the pub.
Do you feel like it's similar to Australia, London?
No, like I don't know, man. I've flipped and flopped a lot. I love London, but I feel like over the last, I hadn't been back since before COVID and all that stuff. It lost a little bit of its soul, man.
Okay.
Lost a little bit of soul. It's like everyone is like working, and everyone's wearing a suit 24/7, or they're at the pub. Like every single doesn't matter. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the pub. So it's like, I'm thinking Netherlands next. Might go over to Amsterdam. Me, my missus might. I just need something that's more happening than Australia, because like you can be in Australia and like you have that like FOMO, the fear of missing, because nothing truly important happens in Australia. Let's be real. Outside of Australia,
like of course.
But then it's like we do have a great lifestyle. I'm established here, so it's
still
it's a tricky
home.
one. It's home.
Still home, 100%.
Yeah,
and I feel like a lot of people think Australians are just paid actors, and Australia just doesn't exist.
Yeah,
because you know we travel, and people are like, you're Australian? Like, whoa, you traveled to get here. And then when you look at Google Maps and like you see how far, like it's just ocean, you know, like
it's 24 hours to go anywhere essentially.
It is, yeah.
So it's crazy. I wanted to ask you this before we start moving on. I've got a few more stuff on the DJing journey, but I want to ask you about the business and how you look at all that. But
of course.
One question I wanted to ask you is, what does creativity mean to you?
Oh, this is a tough question. Creativity to me, to be honest, I think with my brain, I always have a lot of things, because even the missus, she told me this video, like this reel. She's like, oh, there was this lady that had something in her ear, and she went to the doctor, and it was a massive slug that came out of her ears. I'm like, you know what? We should invent ear nets.
Yeah.
Because it's like people. It's like, what about earplugs? I'm like, nah, earplugs are more. It's uncomfortable. You sleep with earplugs and you got something pushing in. I'm like, why don't you just put an ear in it? She's like, okay.
So you're the type of guy you might like, and something will happen, and you're like, that's a business idea.
Yeah, I just feel like my brain, I'm always thinking all the time. It gets the better of me sometimes, but I feel like it's more of a superpower. So it's more like putting this to paper type of thing.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned having ADHD as well. Do you feel like it's limited you, or it's been like a superpower like what you were saying?
It goes both ways. So when I'm in the zone, it's a superpower. But man, sometimes I'm just like, I have to just shut off and just like do nothing. Do you feel like that sometimes as well?
I'm the same. Yeah. I like I said, I only found out this year because I don't know why it took me so long to find out and get diagnosed. But as soon as I did, my missus, I was actually when we were in Melbourne, we're doing a podcast here in Melbourne. My missus sent me an ADHD video, like just, on Reels. And she's like, holy shit, bro, is this you? I watch them like, holy shit. Then you go down the rabbit hole and I realized, wow, this is me. But I was actually a little bit cut that I found out I had it. Not cut because I had it, because I thought my brain, I'm the way I am because I'm special, right? Yeah. Everyone thinks they're special in their own way. But it really has for me. It's been 90% a superpower.
100%, right?
Massively a superpower.
Yeah, like I totally agree that. Yeah.
One thing for me, I can do anything I want.
100%.
I can do anything I want and no one can stop me.
Yeah.
But there's a catch.
Yeah.
I can't make myself do something I don't want to do.
Exactly.
If I don't really want to do it, I'm horrible, man. And I can sit there and like, I really want to do it. But if deep down inside I don't want to do it, dude, I cannot.
Dude, I resonate with you 100%,
do it, man.
It's crazy.
But if you were to Google like ADHD, it's only lists all the negative symptoms.
100%.
So it's got such a bad rap. But only recently I feel like from the rise of some like ADHD content creators, people have started to realize, whoa, like sure there are negatives and things you got to manage with it, but it actually can be a really good superpower. And I wouldn't
100%.
change my brain for anything.
Neither.
Not at all. You mentioned sometimes it does get the better of you. Obviously, being a DJ, living the life you live, going festivals, tens of thousands of people, and like it's a career and a life that would trigger a lot of dopamine release, right?
Yes, definitely.
The ups and downs. Talk to me about that.
All right. So touring, the DJing stuff, all good. I'm dopamine receptors going, but like when I have to wake up and pack my bag, I'm just looking at it. I'm like,
just fried, right?
Yes.
Just fried.
And to be completely honest, if it wasn't for my missus like now, man, I think I would have missed like 50 flights. Just like I'm very organized and disorganized at the same time. I leave a lot of things for the last minute if I can't be bothered. Like, maybe some bills, some like just stuff that I'm like, I can deal with it. Next thing you know, like 10 days overdue, I'm like, I should deal with this now.
I'm the same, dude. And then especially what makes it worse, like they'll send letters. I'm like, who the fuck sends letters?
I
don't know, man. But yeah, I'm the same now. When you're feeling burnt out, like overworked, stressed out, you just rooted, right?
Yeah.
How do you then recharge? Like if you've got another like 3 nights in a row of shows, what can you do? Like, do you have any practices, habits, anything you do to kind of like pick yourself up, make yourself feel better when you are stressed and burnt out?
To be honest, bro, I'm still working it out. I'm still working it out, to be completely honest. I feel like I just kind of still run with it, knowing I've got, shit to do. Just move on, grab a helmet. Yeah. But I think I'm still learning a lot about how to, when you're feeling burnt out and overwhelmed, how you can, better, like fix that.
We all are. It's a constant process. Now, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it would be like living a life like you. I know I have my habits and things that I do that help me, but it's like knowing what to do and doing it are two different things. It's because it's like when you've got so much on and you're an ambitious guy, like you got it tattooed on your hand, your body might be telling you, hey, you need to slow down and rest a bit. But when you've got 2 shows, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I've tried meditating like in the mornings, but when I meditate, and this is another thing as well, like when I meditate and try and come at peace, listen to, like we just had a car go by, and just listen to all these things. For like 10 seconds, I'm like, okay, like I'm meditating. Then 10 seconds later, I'm like, man, I wonder what I'm going to have for breakfast today. It's like, do I feel like, eating bread? Because I don't feel like eating bread. Because if I eat bread, I feel a bit flappy, like, like a bit, ugh. So I'm like, maybe we'll just do like no carbs. And I'm like, wait, shit, is this still meditating?
Yeah.
And then like that's literally how it is, right? It's just like it just doesn't shut off.
Yeah,
sometimes.
When I got diagnosed, I chatted to the psychologist that diagnosed me, and like because like I've got this podcast, I'm massively into personal development. I have all these conversations with people, and like everyone says like you should meditate.
Yeah.
I've never enjoyed meditating, but I think it's the ADHD. I can't because I sit down, I'm quiet. And then what comes into my head is all the fucking things I need to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, no, just let me do 10 minutes, all the things I need to. I'm like, fuck it. I'm better off just going to do them. But like what the psychologist's advice is like, if meditating doesn't feel good for you, then don't do it. Find what works for you.
Right.
Like there's simple breathing techniques, or for me, visualization, and visualizing's been a massive part of my journey and how I honestly believe I've had so much success. And that's peaceful for me. And I can visualize for half an hour if I want. And that's enjoyable. So he said, do that. For you, as someone that's achieved the success and had all the fucking crazy experiences, have you used visualization a part of your journey?
100%. Like my whole bathroom and all like my mirror, I've got this long like ceiling to floor mirror. It's all photos. Like in my bathroom, it's all quotes. It's like, you are in the process, be patient. So that's another thing. It's like sometimes we get so overworked, like, something's not coming fast enough. I need that visual representation to say, yo, bro, slow down, There's this really, there's this really good quote. I think Michael Jordan said it. It's like some people want to do it. Some people, I'll get it later. But yeah, like I wake up and look at that every day. And I feel like that's a different form of meditation, maybe ideally.
100%. So where do you feel like your motivation comes from? Like clearly you're a very ambitious, driven guy. Where does that come from? Why do you feel like you have to give this life everything you got?
I like nice things.
I can see that. You're dressed very sharp, nice watch, nice glasses. But it's the freedom to buy nice things and go to nice places, right? Be able to have the choice.
I think it's also like I've seen the way my parents have worked really hard, and definitely I know I want to never go backwards, and I really want to give them everything they deserve as well in life. And I think it's that fear of going back in that other direction, which I just don't want to happen. So I want like I visualize so much, like I want this to be my life for me, my partner, my parents, and my kids in the future, you know what I mean? So that's like pretty much the goal for me, and that's the driving force, and that's where the dopamine comes from.
Yeah, massively. Now, in terms of your life, a career, what moment reflecting back now are you most proud on?
To be honest, man, these are good questions. To be honest, I think it's the creating something from absolutely nothing. And we live in this system where it's like, you got to study, you got to go to school, you got to do this, you got to do that. I'm like, bro, you'll probably beat this. Fuck the system, like beep. I think it's just, choosing your own path. And I've come to this self-confidence knowing I can create anything I want. And, with obviously our brains, it's like we can make it happen,
So let's just say a young kid, 18, 19-year-old comes up to you after one of your shows and just says, hey, bro, I fucking love what you've done with your life. I have a dream. It might be X, but my parents want me to go to uni and kind of, I'm just going through the process. Like what you just said, creating something from nothing. What's your advice to someone that has a dream, but they haven't actioned it yet, but they just know deep down that there's something better for them to do?
I think everyone wants to make their parents proud, right? But end of the day, it's like you have to live for you. Because end of the day as well, if your parents say you need to become a lawyer and you go down and, study law and stuff and all this thing, it's like, are you really happy? And I feel like if you're doing something you're passionate about, you know how they said there's motivation and there's being driven. Like being driven is like you don't need motivation because you want to keep working and get it done because you see what you want. But then when it comes to motivation, it's like you need that motivation to like keep on going. So there's that massive difference. Yeah, I think it's just you just have to really find that in yourself and just.
But you're right. Like driven is different to motivation, but also I feel like motivation comes and goes, right? It ebbs and flows, but you can create your own motivation by doing things like you said, your mirror, photos from certain moments, quotes. Like you can do a lot of things to keep that going and keep filling up your cup as much as possible. But regardless of how well you structure all that, there are going to be days where you don't feel like it, you're tired, you want to stop working. How big of a role, because even though you're in such a creative, artistic world, still, even that being the case, how much of a role has hard work and persistence been for you to get where you are today?
Can you repeat that question?
So how much of a role has hard work and persistence played? Even though you're a DJ and it's fun and creative, I would be very surprised if you tell me, Dylan, I haven't had to work hard and I haven't had to be persistent.
Well, I feel like at the start I'm not like this, hardworking, persistent. Like I wake up 6 a.m., do an ice plunge and, I eat my vegetables and stuff like that. Like it's complete.
Of course not. No.
It's not
but that's
that.
no fun.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
no fun.
No.
And that's bullshit. That's not what I mean in any way. Yeah.
I think it's how, obviously you got, you're working hard and working smart type of thing. It's like I've got to experience the both. I still have my days, bro. I still have my days. Some weeks are better than the other weeks, but I think it's end of the day, it's just knowing you're taking one foot in front of the other. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not like this guru that wakes up and I have to like kill it as soon as I wake up. Yeah.
But you've just followed your fucking passion and you've probably followed your 0.1% skill, right?
I think pretty much that's what you got to do. You got to find what you love and what you're passionate about and just ride with it.
Now, obviously you've had such a passion for music since such a young age. Where does your brain start also looking at opportunities? We spoke about business and e-commerce and brands you've built and products you've designed. When does that come into your life?
Definitely. So this is actually crazy. So with DJing, I was meeting some really cool people. Even when KSI and Logan Paul came to Australia, I was with KSI and Logan Paul. We were in Sydney, went to like the Koala Park, and it was a really special moment because when I was at dinner with Logan, I was like, holy shit, there's only 9 people at this table, and I'm sitting at this table, and I'm like, bro, this all came from DJing. Like this all came from just like DJing, and someone thought you were dope, and then one thing led to another, and 4 years later it's like, yo bro, we're launching Prime in Australia, do you want to come link up with us and go to the zoo and dinner? I'm like, oh my God, like yeah, of course. It's actually wild. So going back to your question, I'm going off topic.
No, fuck, I love it.
So with the whole the DJing and the business side, for me it was like I've always had this in my brain where it's like I need to monetize myself as best as I can. So with DJing, it was like, I meet all these people that own pharmaceutical companies, big retail giants. They're CEO of this and that. And it's like, oh man, so what do you do? It's like, oh, I DJ. I'm like, oh, great. Like, we can do an event. You can DJ at it. I'm like, yeah, sick. And I'm like, damn. I'm like, man, I need something else. But it was with my company. It was never to a get rich quick scheme. It's like if I have to do something, it's genuinely something that helps people because that's going to be the driving force. And that's when I created the company Swiggle Smiles.
Yeah.
So we've developed a device that flosses your teeth with high pressure water. People know it as a water pick, water flosser, but we've kind of created like a more compact, cool version of it.
Talk to me about the process of that now from the point you realize, hey, I want to also build a business outside of Horizon. I want to do that as well because again, like you said, you can only monetize yourself in so many ways
definitely.
when you're a DJ. Like what else can you do? But
exactly.
How did you land on that product? Obviously you want to solve a problem and help people. How did you land on that product?
It was like a Tuesday night at Coles actually. Like
I love these stories.
Yeah, it was actually really funny. So I don't know if you've ever had this, but like, you do your shopping and stuff like that and you come across like the dental health aisle, where they got the skincare, the face masks, the new toothpaste, the new toothbrushes. You're like, okay, like this is like, do you notice in those sections, the lighting is always bright?
Super bright.
And it's so welcoming, right? So like, all right, you know what? Let me get a new Oral-B toothbrush. Let me get a new Oral-B toothbrush. Let me get some, face the face masks. And then I'm like, you know what? Let me start flossing as well. I'm like, I barely floss. I hate flossing. Let me get some flossing as well. Went home that night and I'm like, all right, let me try flossing. And I got the string and I shoved it in between my tooth and it hit my gum so hard that it sent a shiver through my whole body. And that's when the PTSD from flossing happened. And then I'm like, bro, there has to be an easier way. And then I thought about when I went to the dentist, I'm like, the dentists aren't getting a string and like, like getting in there with the string. They're using a water jet to ideally obviously clean your teeth. I'm like, why don't you create a household version for that for people with like a very strong jet, like 120 PSI jet that flosses your teeth.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, I found out they were on the market, but they were very like pharmaceutical and
very
boring.
not sexy. Like
No.
I said, I'm one of my claims to fame, not claims to fame. One thing I'm proud of that most people in my age now, just turned 30, still no feelings, no cavities, no nothing.
Far
30
out.
years old. I'm undefeated. Now I go down where obviously we got this whole level up here, but downstairs for anyone that's been to the studio, there's a dentist downstairs. And I was getting it done for him. He's like, oh, your teeth are in very good shape. I'm surprised you got no thing, but you don't floss much, do you? I go, oh, can you tell? He's like, yeah, just in between, blah, blah, a little bit of like wear and tear there, but it's all right. I said, I can't floss because same thing, I do it, it hurts my gums.
Yeah.
He goes, here, I'll give you one of these on your way out. It's like a shitty like Colgate one of that. He's like, I'd love to design one for myself, but he's like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
But again, same thing. It's like these products may existed, but they were very unsexy.
Yes.
Not that, again, these companies aren't putting their heart and soul into these products. So it makes an opportunity for small startups to build something and have real impact. Now, since you've got more into the business side of things, has that helped you approach, because obviously you're very good at marketing, like your TikTok's massive, you have many videos with tens of millions of views. Has being involved in business helped you in terms of the way you promote yourself and think about content distribution for you as the artist?
Of course.
Or they helped each other?
No, I feel like they work hand in hand. I kind of felt when I started this company, that 14-year-old horizon, that hungry horizon built up again. Because it was like, okay, let's put all my ideas, but for the business side, because obviously it's like we know all the hooks, we know like how to entice people, bring them in, right, like that.
100%.
So it's actually worked like really well hand in hand. Yeah.
And so how long ago did you launch the company?
So we started in 2020. Yeah. So during COVID, it was an idea I always wanted to start, but I never had time because I was constantly touring.
You guys like had like a bunch of dead time when COVID, like were you able to do, what were you doing? What was life like as a DJ for those like whatever, how many months?
Bro, Melbourne, we had the longest lockdown in the world.
In Melbourne when that happened, you were home.
I was
Tough,
prison sentence, man.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right?
So I had time.
Perfect time to build a business.
time, bro. Yeah. And it was like, it was actually really funny because when I found out that, so I before COVID, I was building up the company, but when I found out the government was giving JobKeeper, I had to double down because the government's giving free money to people.
Yep.
I'm like, I need to double down, start running these ads because people have money. It's like you think people are not, because it's COVID, people aren't working. I'm like, man, people are getting money. I'm like, and we made a lot of money during COVID.
Or some people were making more money than they were working.
Of course, 100%.
And that's why it was so hard to get people to go back to work.
Yeah, 100%, man.
And like they even, I don't know why. It does like they also doubled the like Centrelink to the dollar at that time. Like so there was so much money, going around in the market. So to take advantage of that, you mentioned, were you a pure play e-com before, and now you're starting to talk about retail distribution?
Yes.
And
so we were purely e-com, Facebook, Instagram ads, and then TikTok started having their ads, and actually TikTok did very well for us. I think it was more like I had to learn Photoshop and, Premiere Pro and stuff like that. And, it was at the time where we did very professional ads for our products. But then when TikTok started bringing out their platform for advertising, I'm like, man, it just skyrocketed for us because, the CPMs were super low.
Way lower than Facebook.
So cheap. And you can literally make an organic ad with a voiceover. This is before that that one voiceover that's really annoying, that lady. Yeah. You can just do like just random cuts of a video with the voiceover and it would sell.
Yeah.
So well, yeah.
Because you've got an address. Is TikTok Shop available anywhere? Like obviously it's in the US. Is it in the UAE or anything? Or?
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yep.
So as you go to scale, obviously you've got a lot of connections and relationships due to the nature of your work. But in terms of the business strategy, so people can understand like your thought process,
of course.
What made you decide I also want to pivot into retail?
Okay. So with our product, it's a non-replenishment product. So it's not like skincare. You know, you buy a jar of skincare, after 2 weeks you have to buy another one, obviously, if you like it. With ours, it's like a toothbrush. So it's like we were kind of trying to figure out how we can kind of get our customer base back, but it's very hard. It's kind of like you buy it once, after a few months, or you know, you might think, okay, I'll buy one for my partner. It's a great present, but we never had that you know, that return customer rate, unless they wanted to buy extra tips where you have to replace every 2 to 3 weeks anyway. So then we had to change our structure. How can we kind of sell more units without like kind of just getting it out there more? So we thought B2B. 100% is the best way to go. So we did a massive pivot. It's like, let's get our pre-existing product, redevelop it, make it more high end for the retail sector, and just have it. The vision we were going for was like the Sephoras, you know, the Meccas. Get it ready for that. You know, more because our branding is very bubbly, bright. You know, quirky and stuff like that. We completely changed that. We went more high end, more professional, more like Apple vibe. Yeah.
Has that rolled out yet? Is that live?
No.
When does all this go live?
It's early next year.
Yeah,
next year.
And the new product, are they in manufacturing yet? You've approved all the final concepts. It's locked in.
There's a few little changes that we have to do, just in terms of like, you know, like labeling and like what needs to be on the box, legal stuff. But other than that, I think we're ready to go. With
moving into ecom, has anything surprised you with ecom? How hard it is, how easy it is, how quickly you can scale? What stands out?
It goes both ways. I feel like with ecom, because there's so much ads out there, because it's like, I think you probably could back me on this. Yeah. In 2020, I felt like everyone could run a Shopify store, right? It's easy. Like, oh yeah, I could buy my course. Yep. I'm going to be an overnight entrepreneur making millions of dollars. But like now there's so much like ads out there. I feel like to the consumer, when they see an ad, it's kind of before like now compared to 2020, people just scroll past ads. Yeah. Do you feel like the same with?
It is. That's why as well, you're probably in a good position, because you can still absolutely kill it, but it takes real creativity and storytelling to hook people in. It's not an influencer posing with the product anymore and just a simple read about the benefits and features. Yes. Like, you really have to provide entertainment and value for someone to even give you their attention enough to consider purchasing a product. So it has changed a lot. It's changed a lot. And one thing, obviously, I was doing some research looking into you. You don't really use Horizon to promote your business at all, or?
I did, but I keep it very separate.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that strategically for a reason, or?
It's more, it's something, it's kind of like, I try and keep Horizon on my online, you know, figure Horizon just with the music stuff. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out if people get annoyed if I'm posting the other thing is like, yo, we want DJ content. Yeah. You know, like we want remixes and stuff like that.
I don't know, man. I generally say I don't know, but like a lot of like artists, athletes have all started businesses, and I feel like if anything, that's even increase their profile.
Definitely.
And people would love to see behind the scenes of their fucking favorite DJ building a business.
Yeah, 100%. Well. Yeah, I think one thing I've definitely thought about is, you know, being like, you know how you said like people want a personality with the ads and stuff, even being the personality for, you know, the Swiggle Smiles as well. So that's definitely something I want to explore.
Yeah, massively. Now let's start to wrap up. You got to head to a wedding now. The next 5 years of your life, you've already achieved a certain level of success. How do you then go from the level you're at now to the next level? What does that process look like, and what's your vision? What's your goals for the next 5 years?
Definitely. I don't know if I've worked out 5 years yet. I think it's more like we know after going to Dubai, we know where we want to be based. I think, as Julian said previously, that you need to be around thriving environments, and I suffer from like chronic hay fever. And when I was in Dubai, I didn't sneeze or had the sniffles once. As soon as I landed in Melbourne, I had a sneezing fit on the plane.
Yeah.
I think it's now making the move to Dubai, being based there. Yeah, but to be completely honest, bro, I feel like 5 years, I still am figuring out as I go. You know, I feel like, you know, a lot of people like they feel like they have it all figured out, but I'm more of a like see where it takes me and go with the flow.
I love your honesty, because so many people will bullshit and say, yes, I've got this grand plan, but it, honestly, you don't need that. You need to have a North Star, like where you want your life to go.
Yeah.
And then some people work best with a plan. A lot of things I'll have a plan, but a lot of times you just know where you're going and, and you follow the flow that makes you feel good. You follow like your intuition and you reject the, you know, the people and the pathways that can take you off down a path that you don't want to go down. So fucking oath, man, if you've got that conviction and self-belief and you're just enjoying the process, don't let people tell you have to do it this way. You don't have to wake up at 5:30 a.m., do an ice bath as soon as you wake up, meditate for an hour and a half, stretch for 2 hours. Like everyone can do it their own way.
There's a lot of pressure, I feel like now, you know, especially, you know, with reels and, you know, like I feel like, you know, once you start going into those self-motivation pages, then all your real algorithm has changed. Like, you know, eat vegetables, do this. And then there's like a new form of pressure. I'm like, yo, you know, back up a little bit.
Just do it your own way, bro. So where's the best place people can find your stuff? So you're DJ Horizon, then Swiggle Smiles, you guys on Instagram, TikTok, imagine?
Yeah. So just swigglesmiles.com. That's SWIGGLE smiles.com.
Yeah. And then where are you on Instagram? Just DJ Horizon.
DJ _Horizon. And then on TikTok, just DJ Horizon. You'll find me.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much for making time while you're here. I know you're here for a very short amount of time, so I'm grateful to get an hour of your time. Best of luck, bro. If there's anything ecom, message me anytime. We'll bounce ideas and chat, bro.
This is the start of a good friendship, bro.
100%. Thanks so much, brother. Appreciate it. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode or you got something out of it, do yourself a favor, do me a favor, do your friends a favor and share this with them and they can come along on this journey with us. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.